Shut up and sit down.
Hello, Phantoms fans. Welcome to the Dump and Chase podcast. I'm Sam Olmstead.
And I'm Justin Irwin.
Let's do it.
Well, if you're going to do something fun, do it at least 10 times. Hello, everyone, and welcome to episode 10. That's right, episode 10 of the Dump and Chase podcast. I'm Sam Olmstead, and as always, I'm joined by the guru of hockeyfan.com, Mr. Justin Irwin. So, when was the last time you did something 10 times that wasn't followed by shame and or a search warrant?
Nothing involving a sleazy hotel room and Kevin Stevens.
Oh, and we're back to Kevin Stevens again.
Yeah, Trocheck's name is just too hard to throw out on a spur of the moment.
Okay, so now, since some of you might not have heard the first episode, and quite frankly, we don't blame you, we'll give you a little refresher as to how this got started. Basically, the topic of us collaborating on something had come up several times, and if I remember correctly, we first talked about some kind of like text chat back and forth, which is what we did all the time anyways, and then posting it to the website. Do you remember that?
Yeah, I don't know why I even really thought of that, but it seems like such an odd format idea at the moment.
Yeah, well, you were the first one to bring up the podcast. I mean, my first thought was great. Instead of sounding coherent and intelligent, let's mumble our way through a 20-minute podcast.
That sounds like every other podcast, so yeah, okay.
But seriously, I mean, I have a degree in radio broadcasting, so that clicked for me as a way to carry my own weight, because let's face it, when it comes to the Phantoms, you're pretty much a walking encyclopedia, so there's no way for me to keep up there. But we did a 5-minute test episode, we recorded our first episode, and then we panicked about what to do about episode 2. Thankfully for us, Team USA sent the wrong team at the end of the season, and, off we went.
Yeah, that was a gift.
That was an absolute gift. All right, I think that should be good. Did I go on too long there, or?
No, we're good. We're good.
Well, you can read all about this in my soon-to-be-published book, The History of the Dump and Chase Podcast. I'm gonna call Chapter 1 the Cavelli Center, parentheses, why is there a dirty diaper under my seat, close parentheses. Well, it was under your seat, it wasn't under mine.
Yeah, I remember.
Okay, so, well, before we get into what we have coming up here, definitely make sure you stick around for the end of the episode, this being the 10th episode special, I guess we can call it. I wanted to do a blooper reel, just kind of throw together some of our screw-ups. That ended up being very tedious. It was a lot of hours of audio to go through to kind of pick out stuff. So what I ended up doing is I picked out a couple of clips, a couple of my favorites. Doesn't really show us at our best, but we got a good laugh out of it. Also, we will have something new here. We will have a contest at the end of the episode. So, make sure you stick around to the end to listen for that. And also, this was news from pretty much right at the end of the Fall Classic. We've been sitting on it for a little while, saving it for a special occasion. If you want to go ahead and tell everybody what that is.
Yeah, well, it's we've actually been picked up for syndication from Ohio Hockey Digest, which is a pretty nice website if you're into, all levels of hockey in the local area. Actually extends a little bit into Pennsylvania with Erie. But yeah, we were really the only, source for a lot of Phantoms news. So I was contacted by Scott with OhioHockeyDigest.com, and we set it up. So they are syndicating us for the Phantoms news.
Okay, so we didn't do an episode last week, a little bit time constrained, and wanted to put a little bit of extra effort into this one than we normally would, which, it's a low bar, but here we go. 2 weekends ago, we had the games with Chicago. Really not much to say. The Sunday game, we lost 4-3 in overtime. We were outshot 37-15 in that game. I guess you would want to say that the mark of a good team is being able to find a way to get points when you absolutely do not deserve them.
Yeah, and we stole a point there, even to the end. It looked like we might win that one. But, yeah.
And then the Monday game, We lost 10-3. We were outshot in that game 26-14. In fact, as we're speaking right now, Chicago has scored 2 more goals in that game, so that's pretty much how bad that went. The series total, through the 2 games, the Phantoms were outshot by Chicago 63-29. And honestly, at that point, we thought that was the worst of our problems so far this season.
Yeah. It just was a very, very bad weekend. I don't think we were prepared at all to face them. And it showed in pretty much every area of the ice.
So then we move on to this past weekend. Phantoms traveled to Lincoln. It's the start of this month-long road trip. The game on Friday, Phantoms did a little better in the shot department, but then a new problem, not really a new problem, but a problem that really reared its head. For one, the Stars won. Lincoln scored 5 goals. Trevor Kuntar scored 3. He was our entire offense that game on Friday. To the point almost, the Phantoms were having so much trouble generating offense, you were almost pretty much seeing that line of Kuntar, Ando, and Funk kind of being broken up, maybe kind of spreading the wealth throughout the rest of the lineup.
Yeah. It looked like they were switching Funk and Alex Gritz at times just to give a little bit different of a look. It did seem to work towards the end. It was just really, really an ugly game, and then we started taking penalties. And by then, I mean 2 minutes and 53 seconds into the game, and we got a major.
Yeah, when it was all said and done, the game on Friday, Lincoln went 3 for 4 on the power play.
Yeah.
And that was just the tip of the iceberg.
Yeah, and despite that, again, we were in it till the last minute of the game, really. It was an empty net goal for the goal number 5, so we had a chance. Again, just outshot, outplayed, no creativity on offense. Neutral zone was pretty porous, and we didn't clean up too well on our own end either.
So at this point, that's the Phantoms losing 3 games in a row, only getting 1 point with the game the week before. So the game goes into Saturday. Thankfully, the Phantoms finally pull one out. They won 4-3 in a shootout. Arseny Smeknov with a highlight reel shootout goal. That game the Phantoms were down 3-2. Matt Cassidy tied the game with about 16 seconds left in the third period. But yeah, that Smeknov goal, that was something incredible to watch.
Yeah. Just gave the goalie a lot of fakes. Eventually pulling it to the backhand a la Peter Forsberg. Not really skating in fast, but really deliberate, and kind of just mesmerized him with the stick work and slid it in.
But for that game, in that game, Lincoln went 2 for 5 on the power play. So overall, they were 5 for 9 in the series on the power play. Let me see, looking at my notes here. Yeah, the game on Friday, the Phantoms had 11 penalties, 41 minutes total. And then on Saturday, it was 14 penalties, 47 minutes total. Yeah, so basically as this goes, so far this season, team discipline has been a huge issue for the Phantoms. Right now in the United States Hockey League, the Phantoms are first in penalty minutes with 186 through only 9 games. They're 30 minutes ahead of second place and 58 minutes ahead of third place.
We've had the second most time shorthanded. I guess we've just picked up a few more misconducts and majors than Team USA. And we are dead last in the league in penalty kill. So that's just a really, really bad combination.
Yeah, that's right now the Phantoms penalty kill is at 67.5%. 40 times total shorthanded this season. The Phantoms have given up 13 goals while being shorthanded, which definitely puts them in last place. It's, and I tweeted this out during the game on Saturday that it's right now for the Phantoms, it's kind of this deadly combination of just a complete lack of team discipline and the penalty kill just being as atrocious as it is. I believe it even reached the point, there was a bench penalty for, was it abusive official or?
I don't think it was ever disclosed what the actual bench minor was. But yeah, when anyone is running their mouth on the bench and picks up a penalty for it, that's a real bad sign, because then that means either the coach took a penalty or the coach sat there and let a guy take a penalty, and you've got to rein that in.
Yeah, because if I remember, because I was listening to the radio stream of the game, if I remember correctly, that one came during a puck stoppage, so it wasn't like anything that was happening in game.
Yeah. Whatever it was in a situation where it's a bench minor or during a puck stoppage, that's top down.
So right now it is more than obvious that team discipline is the biggest issue. If the team is more disciplined, then you don't have to worry about the penalty kill being out there so much, getting shredded as much as they are. A couple of transactions in the last couple of weeks we wanted to bring up. The first one up is Alex Gritz. He is a 2000 birth year forward, formerly of the Erie Otters in the Ontario Hockey League. Played 2 seasons with them, 3 seasons overall in the OHL. Played 162 games total, 25 goals, 32 assists, and something that really might help the Phantoms right now, in those 162 games, only 19 penalty minutes.
Yeah. He's known as a character player. Good guy to have on the bench. He was a local Pennsylvania guy, playing for Erie, which was his favorite junior hockey team, kind of living the life. Got bumped out of the roster this year, so we drafted him a couple years back. He reported right away. Best of luck to Alex.
So then on Tuesday of this week, it was announced a trade with Des Moines that the Phantoms picked up Jan Kern, a 99 forward, comes from the Czech Republic. 2 seasons ago was with Dubuque, spent last season with Omaha, started this season with Des Moines, now traded to the Phantoms. 3 seasons in the USHL overall, 111 games, 20 goals, 26 assists. So if anything, since this is a bit of a younger team than we had last season, it seems like they were really looking to bring in experience.
Yeah. I think Kern was a guy who was the last man out. There's a rule in the USHL. You're allowed 5 overage players until a certain date, which then you have to cut one. He's a import player, so that kind of limited his options there. We got him, I believe it was a conditional phase 2 6th round pick next year. So, we got a lot of experience. He's played a lot of international, seems to be a pretty responsible player. So, another guy good to have in the lineup.
So this Friday, the team will travel up to Michigan, and you as well, I believe you said you're going to go. The Phantoms will be taking on Team USA, the under-17s. And as far as the under-17s start to the season, it's pretty typical of what you see from the under-17s every year.
They get the snot beat out of them at the beginning of the season. Start to get it together. Usually starts with them figuring out cheap shot, how to draw you into penalties. Looks like they have a pretty decent squad, so I imagine it won't take them too long to figure things out.
Okay, now I'm going to put you on the spot here. I didn't put this on the run sheet, but as far as the goaltending situation, do you see Bassey starting again as he's gotten the last few starts, or do you see them maybe giving Purcell another chance here Friday?
I think I see Purcell starting.
Okay, so to start wrapping things up here, first off, what we're going to do is a little contest here. I'm going to give out a little Phantoms trivia question, and if you think you know the answer or you want to try to answer, put it in the comments below. If you win, there will in fact be a prize. If you are the first one to get the correct answer, you will win our run sheet from the very first episode of the Dump and Chase podcast. It's basically our list of what we're going to discuss and what order we're going to discuss, but it is the actual copy from the first episode. This is worth absolutely nothing, and if you want it to be worth even less, we'll even sign it for you. So the contest question will be... I almost made it through that whole thing without laughing. I was so close. Dang it. Okay, so the question is, which former Phantom is now an assistant captain for the Ohio State men's hockey team? A former Phantom currently playing for Ohio State was named assistant captain this year. Who is that player? Answer below in the comments. If you're the first one to get it correct, you win. And then one last thing we thought we would do like I said, I wanted to do a blooper reel, just way too tedious, and a few things I had put together wasn't really working. So basically, I took 2 longer clips, and Justin is all too familiar with this first one. Was kind of having a rough night. This was one of the early episodes, 3 or 4, I believe, was having a very rough night getting words out. And he reached this point where you can just hear him slowly unwinding as he's trying to get this one thought out. Take a listen.
Yeah. And we obviously had that as the game plan. When you're starting DeLuca, Amante, and let me start that over again. When you're starting DeLuca, Amante... All right, let me start this over again because my brain has gone to mush there. All right. Yeah, it was pretty obvious from the get-go that was the game plan, was to play them physically. When you start DeLuca, Amante, and Needham on the top line... Okay, start this again one more time. Yeah, it was pretty obvious that playing them physical was the game plan. When you start DeLuca, Amante, and Needham at the game started... Damn it!
Now, you see, my favorite part of that whole bit is that I have a lot more experience with this kind of stuff that you do. You were still, pretty new to all of this. And as you kept messing up the line, instead of me, encouraging you or trying to help you out, I just kept laughing harder and harder every time you messed up.
Well, that's what friends are for. Yeah. I was tired. It was a really, really long week. A lot of things had happened during that week. So, yeah.
I remember editing that episode, and I think I went back and listened to that part like 10 times, and I just, like, every time I just kept laughing harder and harder as I went through it. That pained me to have to cut it out, but we brought it back here, so.
Yeah, my brain had checked out a long time ago, and remembering a simple line combination was beyond me at that point.
So now this second clip, in the annals of Dump and Chase podcast history, this is a very infamous clip, and by that I mean between the two of us. I will give a little bit of context to this before I play it. I believe this was from the draft episode, and I was already, trying to get names pronounced and everything else, and the conversation had gotten on to Japanese players, because every Japanese player that's played in the United States Hockey League has either played for Youngstown or Waterloo, so it was trying to get the pronunciations of 2 players the Phantoms had drafted from Japan, plus also talking about former Phantom Yushiro Hirano. And it was just trying to get these pronunciations right and everything else. I started to say something, and then in my head I realized that even though the intent wasn't there, if it comes out, and I'm not going to say what it was, but if it comes out, it is going to sound horrible. And I was able to catch myself, and then pretty much this is what ensued. But yeah, to Tommy Apap, to Yushiro Hirano, I did get that right, didn't I?
Yeah, yes. Okay.
We're all learning. It's apparently with the Phantoms. No, I'm not going to say that. Never mind. No, I heard in my head where that was going, and I'm not doing it. Apparently with the Phantoms, I got to learn Japanese now. But and there you have my moment of shame. It was. We usually record these pretty late at night, so my brain that night wasn't really functioning as well as it should have been, but
yeah,
if anything, it gave us a good laugh.
Yeah, and you managed to keep it slightly within the constraints of good taste, and
oh Lord,
it's hard for us. It's really hard for us sometimes.
Yeah, we're both fairly busy during the day, and then we come together at 10, 11 o'clock at night to film, to record these things, and No, no, we're not doing that. I am the classic definition of I have a face for podcasting. Okay, so I'm just entertaining myself now. All right, so we will wrap this up. As always, thank you everyone for listening. Questions, concerns, anything like that, comment below. Our social media links are in the description. Again, don't forget the contest. And 10 episodes so far. Thank you everybody who's listened, and we will talk to you soon.
Trying to think of something offensive to say. I guess I just can't come up with the bite my shiny metal.